Hi fish friends, it's Rebecca from Being Human Tarot here with your November 2018 reading. This month I'm reading with the Illis Tarot, which here's the box for that. I would pronounce the artist's name, but I would butcher it, so you can pause that if you want to see it, and I'll also link to it in the description. So I'm sticking with and just a little bit more about this deck because it's a cool deck. So all of the majors are represented by like 90s pop culture icons, and that's really cool and amazing. However, the minors are all very literal. So like if I drew the 5 of Cups, it would be actually just 5 cups with no other kind of background or illustration. And so I have not read prolifically with this deck because of that, because I really like to see the minors represented with more illustration, and so that you can read more intuitively. You can't intuitively read a ton with a deck when there's zero illustration like that. However, what I've been doing for these readings is to just kind of revert to the Smith-Rider-Waite for interpretations and like reference points for the minor arcana's imagery. So, just a little bit of background. I'm sticking with the same 3-card spread that I have in previous months, where the first card represents what to focus on for the month, the second card represents what to set aside for the month, and the third card represents an additional consideration for the month. And to get into reading, you actually, I can't remember the last time this happened, or if it's happened since I've been doing these monthly readings, but you pulled all majors. So you won't even get to see what I was talking about in terms of the minor arcana. And for your focus of the month, you drew the Hanged Man, which you can see represented here by Chloe 70. And as a focus of the month, the cards are asking you to look at patterns of behavior and the ways that you approach life. I mean, that's quite broad, so I think you'll know for yourself personally where this is showing up. But the cards are asking you to take a look at what might not be working and to really allow yourself to change your perspective by taking a little bit of a different approach. Maybe it's trying to see something from someone else's perspective, kind of like, stepping into an empathetic kind of mind frame. If you've been pushing at something and pushing at something and pushing at something that you want, and you can't seem to make it happen, this would be a time to take a step back and wonder, how could I change my approach? How could I look at what I've been doing, maybe recognize why it's not working, and then think more on what I could do to make it work. So it's really just about, the Hanged Man is about, because obviously the Hanged Man is upside down. It's a forced different perspective. It's also a stillness. So it's not kind of like, it's not taking a ton of action, it's reflection and remaining in your mind, thinking about other ways. It's meditative in a lot of ways. Remaining still, trying to hear and see things that you can't when you're thinking about a million things, when you're like moving forward fast, trying to do all the things. It's a little bit of a timeout in some ways. Not a hermit timeout, but more of a like analytical, what's going on here timeout. Whereas the hermit is much more introspective, and this can be too, but it's also analyzing in terms of the things that are surrounding you and the people in your life and the situations and all of that. what's going on there. And it could be that you're analyzing other people's behavior. Maybe you've noticed that maybe the perspective you need to have is that people in your life aren't treating you as you deserve to be treated. And so instead of continuing on with them and continuing to be disappointed, you need to take the time to actually kind of like notice that and get unstuck from the way that you're used to living and seeing that person in your life. So it's that hangman is very broad. So it might not jump out at you as to what this could be. So if it isn't obvious, just take some time to think about what it could be. What areas of your life maybe seem a little stuck, because it's about unsticking. For your card of what to set aside, you drew Bjork as the Wheel of Fortune, my favorite artist of all time. The Wheel of Fortune as a set aside is interesting, because you can't really set aside the Wheel of Fortune. It's sort of like it's chance, it's things going, it's as they will without, your input. And so as a set aside, I think it's perhaps more of a message to not resist the Wheel of Fortune. So if some things are feeling out of your control and that's giving you some feelings of being unsettled and you in more of a control freak mode, like you gotta control the things you can and do the best that you can in those areas, but you also have to let go of the things that you can't. So keep that in mind, especially when you're examining these new ways of looking at situations in your life. Could it be that being excessively controlling is the thing that you need a new perspective on, and that's why you need to let this go here? For your final card in the position of an additional consideration for the month, you drew Alanis Morissette as the Star. All majors. And you can see her illustrations are pretty cool. I mean, I know I guess they're based on existing imagery, because I know that the Bjork card is the album imagery for Post. But so the star as an additional consideration is a reminder to keep hope alive, essentially. So if the hangman is and doing the work of the hangman is making you feel tired, maybe a little bit confused, if you're feeling like you have this loss of control and you wish that things could be more just as you'd prefer them to be, as you could, you wish you could just take the reins and guide them in this direction or that direction, try not to stress out too much. The star is showing you that all of this self-work is going to be in your best interest. I mean, I guess inherently, because it's self-work, right? But it's not going to just leave you confused and feeling like you wasted your time. The outcome is going to be good, potentially pretty freeing, actually. And yeah, the star is kind of hanging there. It's the light in the black sky, right? So you can look up and feel comforted that everything that's going on this month, it's pretty positive stuff. Hanged Man and Wheel of Fortune are Hangman is a little bit more of work. The Wheel of Fortune is it's the opposite of work. It's surrendering to the inevitable. But sometimes that can be work too. Sometimes just letting things be can be hard work. So the star is just a reminder that things are going to be okay. Don't stress out if you start to feel like you're not understanding what it is you're supposed to be reevaluating, that kind of stuff. Just go with the flow, see what happens, and it's all gonna work out. It's gonna be okay. So that's your reading for this month, Pisces. I hope you found it useful, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. I also hope that you'll consider subscribing to the channel. I upload this suite of videos for all 12 signs before the first of every month, so you can get a little bit of a preview with what's to come for that month. And if you hit the bell icon next to subscribe, you'll get automatically notified when I upload the videos so that you won't have to check back in, kind of thing. And so that's it. I'll pause this and pan down so that you can see all three of the cards together and get more of a visual representation for the month. Okay. Bye, Pisces. There's a bit of glare, but as you can see, you have your focus of the Hanged Man, set aside of the Wheel of Fortune, and additional consideration of the star. Thanks for tuning in.